Support for this podcast and the following message come from Corient. Corient provides wealth management services centered around you. They focus on exceeding your expectations and simplifying your life. Corient has been helping high achievers just like you enjoy their lives more fully, preserve their wealth, and provide for the people, causes, and communities they care about. As one of the largest integrated fee-only registered investment advisors in the U.S., Corient has deeply experienced teams in 23 strategic locations. Corient has extensive knowledge spanning the full spectrum of planning, investing, lending, and money management disciplines. Leverage Corient's exclusive network of experts to craft custom solutions designed to help you reach your financial goals, no matter how complex they may be. Real wealth requires real solutions. For more information, connect with a wealth advisor today at Corient.com. That's Corient.com. Corient.com. Looks like you need a vacation. Enter the 5-Hour Energy Where Will the Tide Take You sweepstakes. You could win a $10,000 dream beach vacation. Imagine jet setting off to a tropical paradise, having fun in the sun, or diving at a gorgeous reef. It's up to you. No purchase necessary. Go to 5HETide.com for official rules and to enter. That's 5HETide.com. Enter today. Ends June 30th, 2024.
Welcome to the Comedy Album Book Club. We're joined today by Chanty and Marostica, who just finished recording our episode about Jesus' Magic. If you haven't already listened to it, go back and give it a listen. Chanty is a SiriusXM Top Comic 2018 finalist, has worked with Vice, Extra, CBC Comedy, and appeared on Working Moms and Soul Decision. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
My pleasure. Now, you've been working in comedy about 13 or 14 years. That's
yeah.
Right. So when did you realize this was something that you wanted to do?
I always knew. I guess when I was like 9, whenever you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like a vegetarian, but like veterinarian. And then I told my mom I wanted to be a singer. And then when she told me that I didn't sing, I was like, am I better than Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey? And she was like, no one is. And that broke me as like an 8-year-old. And I was like, you're dead to me. And then I decided I wanted to be a comic. So it was just always something that relieving tension, making people happy.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be, like Robin Williams or Whoopi, like watching them growing up, just be like a force that brought happiness to people. So I figured that stand-up was like the way, you know.
Oh, you grew up
before Google, you just do what? Just do it.
Yeah. Excellent. What we talked about Jesus' Magic, but what is your actual favorite comedy album? If you think, like, is there one that really stands out?
I'm going to be real honest with you, Matt. I don't listen to a lot of comedy. Yeah. I feel like it informs my opinion on things, and there's not a lot of comedy out there that is my voice or suits my voice. There's not a lot of trans people doing stand-up. I think that Tig Notaro is someone that really is very special to me. I think that the way that she makes jokes and tells them is amazing, and I love Sarah Silverman, but like rewatching Jesus' Magic, I was like, holy, I don't watch a lot of comedy if that's like one of my go-tos, because like she made me laugh. I remember she made me laugh, but I don't watch a lot of comedy. I feel like my roommate, I live with like 90 comics because I'm really successful, and they were watching like Dave Chappelle, and it was just like there's always something in there that I'm like, I don't know, man. Yeah. Even when I watch Amy Schumer, I'm like, I get it. I get that you're tongue in cheek being. I just feel like I don't like to be offended.
Resonate doesn't.
No, it's not my voice, and I don't find it as important as maybe some other things that could be sharing space. I don't know. I just don't watch enough comedy.
Yeah. Now you grew up in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
So my grandparents were actually, well, one was from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. My grandmother was from Whitemouth, Manitoba. So they're from sort of smaller towns. And my grandfather is actually a classical composer, and he wrote or scored a ballet, Shadow on the Prairie, which was performed by the Royal Winnipeg Ballet Company, all about a Scottish couple that moved to the prairies and went crazy. So because in the middle of winter. So it impacted his work a lot because you generally don't write music about people going crazy if it doesn't sort of like sit on you somehow. Have you found growing up in the prairies and growing up in Winnipeg, if you found that's impacted your material?
I guess it did when I lived there, because it was like it's kind of like I feel like Winnipeg is a bit separated from everything. It's like a hub, like that you do a lot of Winnipeg jokes because you're not as affected by the rest of the Canadian comedy scene. But yeah. The only way that it affects my jokes is that I grew up in I feel like a very problematic area of Canada. I think I don't know. I feel like that's a blue collar city, so there's a lot of like racism towards everyone, but especially Indigenous people. Yeah. And I never felt I fit there. So it has impacted me in the way that I just try to evolve from the people that surrounded me when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And it was very cold. I just don't, when people ask me about Winnipeg, I want to be like, it's great, but that's where I got bullied. That's where I experienced a lot of misogyny. That's where there's still a lot of misogyny in their comedy scene. So I'm like, what? I'm from Toronto.
It's about where you are, not where you were.
It affects my writing because it's just like I can make fun of where I'm from, and I can make fun of what made me who I am today. Like just be like, I'll say like in Hawaii where they give you a lei and they say aloha, in Winnipeg they just stab you. Because it's just there's so much violence there. It's like I'm trying to think of a good thing that I like about Winnipeg, and I'm like, I don't like it.
It's racist and cold.
Racist and cold. Yeah, I guess that's okay.
Now, you've performed in a lot of different places. Where's the weirdest venue that you've ever found yourself in?
Ooh, this is good because last night I performed at a private bachelorette party. They got a hold of me through my website, through my agent, and he was like, do you want to do this private bachelorette party? And I was like, yeah. Because I, like I was saying to you earlier, like I'll order an Uber pool just to feel anxious. Because like I just sometimes like feeling discomfort emotions. But it was, when I was pulling up in the Uber pool last night to it, I was like, why do I do this to myself? And it was great. But it was just me performing for 15 people in this woman's living room that I didn't know them. And I just walked in, they made me a drink, and then they were like, so you ready? And I was like, yes, I'm ready to perform in your living room in front of a window in Forest Hill or wherever I was.
That'd make a cool comedy special.
It's like something like Maria Bamford did, where she keeps going from that's what I was going to say, as somebody that I've listened to all of her albums and I absolutely adore her. I don't wear band shirts and I'm like, I'm the biggest fan of this person. And I love, like, that's something like, if I travel, that's who I would listen to, or
There's been a lot of talk in the last few years about how there's been a sea change in the entertainment world and comedy about representation, diversity, and how it's improving. But a lot of men in the comedy world especially continue to make jackasses of themselves and do terrible things, and they appear to get free passes. Meanwhile, people continue to attack people of color, women, and members of the LGBTQ plus community who try to make a living off of comedy for even the most perceived of slights or straying outside of the boxes that they like to put them in. Performing, have you seen, like, how has it been on the ground in the comedy world? Like, it's you hear a lot of critics talking about, it's better, or there's all these new acts, but actually in the clubs, has there been a change? Do you feel that it's getting better, or is it more of the same?
I feel like moving to Toronto and living here, it's been a positive change for me because I felt like I'd never really worked with a lot of women. I was like, oh my God, you exist in comedy? Because there'd always be like one other woman, because they wouldn't make space for them, or like one woman on a roster, because that would, you had just tokenizing people. Tokenizing was a big thing for me coming up in stand up. And now I feel that things are becoming more diverse, and the peak club owners I deal with, like Gary at Comedy Bar, they're trying to be more inclusive, and like they're very open space. I could talk to Aaron, Jen, or Gary about any issue that I have, and they want to hear it. They want their space to be inclusive and just to be a safe space for people, which is not across Canada what club owners do or how they book or anything like that. And I don't see a change. I honestly don't. So I create my own spaces. I create my own work because I'm not going to get a call to come and headline my home club in Winnipeg. And they're like, oh, didn't we treat you well? I'm like, you treated me great, but I'm also a trans person, so you're not going to, you don't care, you know? I actually work for Yuck Yucks, but I had to be like, do you want me on the roster or do I walk? Because even talking to like the club owners at Absolute or just any club in Canada, like I'm barred from working a club in Thunder Bay called Crickets and they've never met me. They've never met me because I'm an like what was I can't remember the phrasing. It was something about being an outward woman and feminist. I was like, almost only one of those things. People just abrasively don't like me or what I represent because they think that it's outside of how they think, or they might think that I don't really know. I just think I'm too much for maybe a gamble. I don't really know where am I going with this. I have to create my own work because you're not going to see a trans person headlining across Canada yet. You're not going to see that. I'm the first. I headlined the Yucks Club, the Toronto club, and I was the first out trans person to ever work a Canadian club chain. That's so, and I'm the first, and that's because I just came out as trans. Like even before then, I was working as a woman or as a lesbian. I was the first host at Rumors to be a female, and now I think we're still far away from actual club work being diverse, but comedy I feel is changing, and it's becoming more about an underground scene becoming the scene because people want to see diversity, so they're going to go to self-produced shows where the producers are queer people of color, and they're making more effort to have a diverse lineup, which is what I do with Queer and Present Danger and my own shows, is try to reflect what I see in the world and what my friend group looks like, and just what I want everybody in the audience to be able to see themselves on stage, I guess is the thing. But you don't see that in clubs, so that's a tough question because I'm like, I don't live in that, like in the mainstream comedy world. Like I had to just create my own queer scene so that I could just be myself on stage.
Do you feel it's the environment to do that, to self-create, and like in this, in this new world of comedy, as it's sort of like, is that there more than it was like maybe a decade ago?
I think there's just more there that we don't care what white men have to, like the people who we thought ran the comedy scene and ran our careers don't, because there's people who want to see me on stage. People, trans people, non-binary, queer people, everybody. Like there's a lot of people that are my fans that aren't just queer people or trans people. They want to hear my voice. They want to hear my perspective. And I think just me being able to be like okay with people not liking me and people not liking the material I put out, or I don't know, just being more confident to be like, I'm here and I deserve this space, and taking it up. I don't know. I lose track of a question as soon as you say it.
It's okay. It's true. Like the answers are interesting. That's what matters.
Good.
Doing stand up, heckling is kind of a reality of the situation. It's unfortunately it's just like the only creative outlet. I mean, I'm not really big into music. I love comedy. That's my, and it's like the only thing you can go to where you kind of like a segment of the audience think it's okay to be assholes and interrupt the performance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm contributing because I'm being a part of it. No, you're ruining it. Like, how do you deal with heckler? Like, what do you do to brace yourselves or sort of judo your way through that situation?
It's so strange because it's like if you go to a music show, it's like these things have all existed for all of time. So we like when we go to music, this is how we act, and when we go to a film, this is how we act. But comedy is just like it's so much newer than everything else. So it's just like it's me, I'm here too, and people. I don't brace myself. I riff a lot, and I guess I have an improv background, so I'm just ready. I'm just always ready. And when you can't really be ready for a heckler because you don't know what it's going to come from.
Yeah.
I perform in a lot of queer spaces that I've created and a lot of queer spaces that have come from that or have existed before. But I also do club work, so anything can happen to me at any time, and that's physics. But I like when I'm standing on stage and somebody speaks to me, I just have to address why that person is talking out loud and give them their moment in the spotlight and then move on. I never am mean to hecklers. I'm just always ready to validate them, because the reason that they're speaking out loud is because they just need some attention for a moment. And my heckle, like I I used to get heckled more in like a hate crimey way when I was younger, but I think the way that I own myself now, people are like, they're gonna eat me alive if I say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had somebody the other day that was like, I was like, I was like, yucks, and I was like, where's my LGBTQ representation at? Where are my queers at? And nobody cheered, and that happens a lot. And then I'm like, I pretend I'm like, I'm gonna go die because it's like the only one in the club. But then this woman was like, pointed at her friend. She was like, he is. And he was like, what? No. And then people were laughing. They thought that was so funny that she was like, he's gay. And I was like, oh, wow. You're in the wrong place, honey. And then he was like, well, me. And then he was like, I was like, what are you drinking? And he's listed all the ingredients. Didn't name the drink. Like a fucking idiot. Listed. And he was like, so maybe, but it was in a martini glass. He was like, so maybe I am gay. And I was like, you can't make that joke, especially when I'm on the stage, sweetheart. Yeah. And everybody like, it was a very like white cis audience because it was Yuck Yucks on like a Thursday, and everybody was like, ooh, like, oh, like weren't on my side, and I was like, oh, you're not on my side, that hurt. I was like, oh, that hurts, but I don't care what you think. So then, like I was like, I can make that joke, you can't make that joke, and everybody was like, ugh. And then a minute later, I was like, oh, what is that, a martini? What are you gay? What are you gay or something? And I was like, see, it's funnier when I say it, but I was selling myself out in that moment. I was just trying to reflect on, show them that I don't know what I was trying to show. I was trying to show them that like they were like, oh, it's okay. You know what? I lost myself. See, as soon as I start talking, I'm like, oh my God, why is everybody looking at me? It's only me and you in this room. Why am I not talking? I just everything that happens to me. I also have ADHD, so if anybody does anything in a crowd, I will notice it and I will address it. That's part of how much I riff and just how much like my attention span is. And I just am just always on the ready to talk to the audience and just validate everybody in the audience and make sure they know that they're like, I'm just as much here for you as I am for you, you know? Yeah. I'm terrible at interviews. I'm sorry.
No, it's giving me an insight into how you work, and that's the awesome part. You know, that it's just terrific to find out.
Good.
Yeah. Now you're a finalist in the SiriusXM Top Comic Competition. That's super exciting. It must be super exciting. Like, how does that process work? How did you get on there, and like how did they go through that?
They ask for submissions earlier in the year, and then you submit your video, and then they get back to you. They choose about 60 comedians, and then they hold auditions in Calgary and Toronto, and then 3 people from every night go through, so they end up into the finals with, I don't know, I think it was like 16 people, 12 people. No, more, maybe like 18. You know what? They sent me all this information so I could get it right. And I'm like, I didn't read that. I just go with what I feel. There's like 18 of us. And then we go through a voting process for a month of like just getting people to vote for us every day. And the people with the highest amount of votes get to be the final 8 for the competition. And we get to compete for $25,000 in 4 huge festival spots. So basically like probably like 35. Like it's a lot of money. And JFL Sydney, JFL42, Just for Laughs. And then a TV special. And then the runners-ups each get $2,500. So, and probably appear in some stuff too. So it's a huge opportunity. And Maria Bamford is headlining it, so it's just like I get to meet my hero.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's got to be exciting.
Yeah, I didn't think that the night that I did the Top Comic Finals in 2014, right before I moved here. And the prize was $15,000, and that was the prize. That was it. And not that was it. That's an amazing prize. But SiriusXM has really built Canadian stand-up and trying to build a star system, so they're trying to make it bigger and better, and they have achieved that. And when I was going in this year, I've auditioned like every year because you get paid to audition. It's like I'm like, I'll submit, I want that money. But I went in not thinking I would go through, so for the second time ever, I told my jokes about being trans, and it was really scary because it was like, it's admitting and saying it out loud to myself, because it's only been not a year since I came out as trans, but 2 or 3 years as non-binary. But I was just like, if I'm going to go through or if I'm going to lose, I want to lose for myself, because I am terrible in competition and terrible showcasing, because it means so much to me. And so I was just like, I'm doing this for myself. So I wasn't nervous. So I had a really good set, and me and 2 other queer people went through, and that's like, that comedy is changing. There was no queer representation. All the finalists that night were queer. And then going into the voting, my best friend Kyle Brownrigg was also in the semifinals. So It was just kind of every day, like matching him, like what he put out, I'll put something out. And I didn't think that I would get into the final. I was like, if I don't get into the finals, I'll suck. And it would suck to not have that representation there, having a trans person there. Yeah. But that's just how much I put, and I put a lot into it. I did go for the votes every day, but at the end of the day, I didn't think that I would really get to the finals. So I'm just proud to represent who I'm representing on the stage. And if I don't think I'll win, but if I did, it would be really sick. But it would also show how progressive stand-up has come, because like I'm not going to change my jokes or the set that I'm going to pick just because it's the finals and I stand to win $25,000. If I don't talk about being trans, I can't be like, I'm so proud to be the first trans person to do the finals, and not mention it. I want to make my community proud, and I'll make my community proud before I choose jokes that might win an entire audience over. I don't know what the audience is going to be made up of, but I'm just going to make myself proud, and hopefully that gets me $25,000.
I'll be cheering for you.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of Maria Bamford as well. Super huge fan. I just find what she does in her material, where she's just so honest, like regardless.
And what she says is so important and impactful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
impactful.
Yeah, impactful.
Yeah.
So how are you going to keep from, like, if I ever met her, I'd probably fan out a little bit. Like, do you have a tactic to like say, okay, keep my cool?
I don't know. The other day I walked past Ted Danson at CP24 and walked into a coffee machine. I'm not even a big fan of Ted Danson. I just saw him and I was like, bleh, and then fell. I can prepare myself all I want, but I don't know what's going to happen in the moment. I majorly want to share with her how important it is that she shares her journey through anxiety and depression, because it helps. Like I know a lot of comics who now talk about it in their act, and she's opened doors for stigma to be like lessened, and just for people to be more honest about it on stage, because a lot of comics suffer from that, and just being able to talk about it and normalize it for other people that don't have a stage and a microphone to be like, oh, it's okay that I feel this way. She's done so much good for people with mental health issues. I just want her to know that she has impacted me, and that her voice is so important. That's, I guess, would be the only, but I'll probably be like, I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be a really crazy day. But me and Kyle were just like, we got to the finals. That's what we wanted to do. And we are two best friends, two queer people in the finals. And that's all we can ask for. So it's just going to be a fun day. We're going to treat ourselves. We get to still, like, they were like, if you want the hotel, but we live in Toronto. And he was like, do we want the hotel? I was like, bitch, of course we want the hotel. It's a beautiful fucking hotel, and we live in garbage apartments. We're losers. We're getting that hotel, and we're going to treat ourselves like fancy people. We're going to meet our hero, and we're just going to party. Like, we're just going to have a fun day. And I'm hoping that I can stay true to that and not get too anxious.
Excellent. Now, so this is going to actually go up on the 27th. So if you had one piece of advice, one piece of encouragement to give yourself on the day when you go into that showcase, what would that be?
I think that me right now will tell me in the future that you're worth this and you can do it, because you are funny. You're very funny, Chanty, and you don't let yourself feel that a lot. And if you just talk about the things that are important to you and you do your best, you'll do great.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us on the panel and taking the time to sit with us afterwards.
Thank you for listening to my really long answers then when I forget what I'm talking about. I really appreciate you.
It's illuminating, and it's fun. So thank you. Before we wrap up, is there anything that's happening after the special that you want to like tell people about or get people to come out to?
I had mentioned I'm dropping my album, The Chanty Show, on October 27th at Comedy Bar at 9 p.m. And every Monday I host Canada's first and only weekly LGBTQ open mic. So if you want to check that out and support the community, or if you want to come try stand up, I mentor a lot of young queer comics, and I'm a good dad to them. So come and get a dad.
Terrific.
Or some comedy. You don't need a dad. Just come for the comedy.
Get a dad and comedy.
Yeah,
on one easy
it's
location.
what a great day.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Thanks very much for sitting with me.
Thanks, Matt.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.
Hey y'all, Darius Rucker here. A lot of people ask me, what inspires your music? And one of the big things is a strong sense of place. That's why I love my home state of South Carolina and want to share the awesome things it has to offer. From the beautiful mountains down to the sunny coast, it's got it all. Not to mention two of my personal favorites, great golf and amazing food. Come see why I love this place. Visit discoversouthcarolina.com.